history's forgotten recipes out of random cookbooks I find and sometimes websites, and today I have a brand new cookbook that I'm going to start trying out. It's so exciting for me. I hope it's exciting for you too. If you're new here, thank you for joining me. I hope you join our community and I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you are coming back for more, hello again, nice to see you. Drop me a comment and let me know you're here, and let's get on with it. Alright, so today's recipe comes to you from 1941, one whole year into rationing in World War II Britain, from a cookbook called Good Fare, a collection of wartime recipes. And that book is currently in the mail on the way to my house, and I'm so excited. In the meantime, I had to buy the Kindle edition so I could get a digital printout of this recipe. So I have two books now, but it's okay. I'm a sucker for hard copy books, especially recipe books. So this one's on my mind a little bit because we are full force into fall, and we are actually going to be harvesting our apples from our little orchard today, which has got apple on my brain a little bit. And I'm going to be using store-bought apples today though, because I am not part of that apple picking process at the moment and I don't want to go outside. And you guys also did respond to my poll on keeping the cost breakdown in the video, so I'm going to use store-bought apples because not everybody has an orchard where they can get free apples. So we'll do that. Okay, so first things first, we need pie crust. It says short crust pastry, same thing. As long as there's butter and flour in it, it's a short crust. So that being said, I'm going to make one. So this is where it's weird to me because it says it's an apple cake, but it's using a pie crust and it's on top and bottom, but like in a pan. So I think it's kind of a hybrid, but you know what? It might be good. All right, so in this case, I'm going to use my own short crust recipe. It's tried and true and I love it. So we are going to do 1 1/4 cup of flour, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/2 cup of room temperature butter, not melted, room temperature, like to where you can squish it, like it gets all over your hands. And I like to put it into small pieces because you're going to mush it around and make this consistency of the flour like sand. And you can use a pastry cutter or a fork. I personally prefer my hands because then I get a really good idea of where my textures are. And who doesn't like getting messy? This will take a few minutes. Pastry cutters are really nice. I don't have one. It broke a long time ago and I just never replaced it. So you don't want to have these big, large chunks of butter in your flour. You want to get those smaller and you just have to keep mushing them. Okay, so now I have got a perfectly crumbly flour and butter mixture. So this is where you put in your water, cold water, not hot water. That'll melt the butter, and you don't want melted butter in a pie crust. It's coming together nicely already. At first it does not seem like enough water, I will say that, but between the softened butter and the water, it will come together very nicely. One thing that you don't want to do with short crust pastry is overwork it. So I am gently mushing this together. I am not kneading this like a yeast bread dough. Otherwise your pie crust, when you go to roll it out, will seize and you won't get it any bigger than this because you'll get it out and then elasticize back in. All right, so the beginning of my pie crust here, and it's going to have a top and a bottom in a pan. So I'm going to cut it in half. Wherever my knife went. I'm going to use my bottom pie crust immediately. My top pie crust is going to go in the fridge for a bit. Okay, so it doesn't say what size of pan to use. It just says a rectangular tin, and the only rectangular one I have is a 9 by 13, and I feel like that's going to be a little big. So I'm going to try and shove everything into an 8 by 8 and see what happens. So we're going to roll out bottom part of our pie crust and stick it in our pan and then cover it and put that in the fridge while we make the filling. I'm going to be a disaster by the time I have to take a thumbnail for this video. I'm getting flour all over me, but it was my choice to wear black, so maybe I should start wearing, I don't even know what color would be best. Maybe a hazmat suit. All right, pie crust done. Let's do the filling. Okay, so the next step while that's cooling off is the inside, and I need 450 grams prepared weight of apples, peeled, cored, and cubed. So prepared means I can't just weigh my apple like this because it takes into account the weight of the core of it. So I need the total of everything cut to be 450 grams, and I have no idea how many apples that is. I'm assuming that 450 grams of apple is more than 2 apples, but I kind of want to see where I'm at the moment. Okay, so 2 apples is 165 grams. I've got a ways to go. Okay, so it looks like 450 grams of apples prepared turns out to be about 5 apples, which ended up being 1.5 pounds of apples. So 30 grams margarine. I don't know margarine, I'm using butter. The more expensive option and the more rationed one, which, yes, I know, not historically accurate perhaps, but I keep forgetting. Okay, so it says to stir this around until the butter or margarine has melted. So for this recipe, it cost me $1.50 in apples. It would have been free had I used my orchard apples, but I didn't. For my butter, it cost me $1.70 for this recipe. I used 10 ounces. Now, had I used margarine, it would have been cheaper. My flour turned out to be 12 cents. I used 1.5 cups in the short crust, and I didn't even bother with my salt and sugar because those are the last two ingredients aside from like my pinch of cinnamon and cloves or mixed spice, because I have them on hand already and I haven't had to buy them for a while, and it's such a minimal amount. It's literally 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1/4 teaspoon of salt, so it's negligible. So all in all, this whole dessert recipe cost me roughly about $4.50, which is not too shabby, especially because margarine is way cheaper. I could have cheapened out on that, and I could have cheapened out on getting free apples either from a neighbor or my orchard. So I've got 5 people in my family, and if I were to split this recipe into 5 equal portions for all of us, it would give everybody an 88-cent portion of apple cake, which isn't too shabby considering you could use margarine to cheapen it a little bit more. You could probably get it down to 50 or 60 cents a serving. So these are almost ready to mash, and the last ingredient is sprinkling to taste cinnamon, cloves, or mixed spice, which I believe is the British equivalent to pumpkin pie seasoning. It's just a melange of warm spices. So I love that this says to taste, because if you saw any of my last videos where they give like this much spice to this much of a dish and then you can't taste it, and I am a full flavored, warm spiced kind of person, so we're gonna make this taste good. I'm using cinnamon, a little bit of allspice, and you have to have a little bit of nutmeg. Not too much because it gets potent, but oh, it smells like cider. It's so good. I think these are about ready to mush. Oh, yes, they are ready to mush. Okay, I'm going to turn this off, get my potato masher. So it was at this point in the recipe I realized I am making my own applesauce, which I could have just gone to my pantry and gotten the applesauce, but I would highly recommend this if you've never tried it before. It's delicious. All right, we now have schlop. It smells delicious. Okay, I'm going to clean up a little bit. I'm getting a little cluttered here. Hold on. Okay, so if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you'll kind of notice that I'm one of those use every dish in the kitchen kind of cooks, and so I get cluttered, so I have to scoot it all out. Okay, so we are got our bottom crust that's been chilling and my ball of pastry crust that has been chilling. So this tells us to spread mixture evenly over the pastry base and then roll out and lay the rest of the pastry over top. This is, I see where they get cake from, but it's pie cake. Either way, it's smelling great. Push this all the way to the edge. I wonder if I'm using a big enough pan. It feels like this is going to be thick, but I am kind of not caring. We're baking an applesauce cake, but like it's a pie with a layer of applesauce in it. Okay, I think I kind of want to, just because I don't particularly like the look of the pan, aesthetics, I know, but I think I might try to roll this out larger than I should, just so I have some and I can like make some decorations so it looks a little nicer. Yeah, it's good enough. Okay, I'm just gonna sink that on there and trim around the edges here. Okay, I made it a little more festive. So last step is to brush it with milk. Now you can use powdered milk or regular milk. I'm going to use regular milk, and I'm not going to count for cost on that because it literally is a very small amount. Now I'd be inclined to brush this with egg as well. An egg and milk wash looks great. It's a great finish to a pastry, but wartime they were rationed, so I don't think I would have been using my egg ration for a pastry. So my top pie crust ended up being a little smaller than the edges around, but I think that'll be all right. We'll see what happens with that. All right, so I'm gonna go put this in a 350 Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius oven. That's what it said. All right, and I think it says for 20 to 30 minutes or until, the filling's cooked. So basically you're just waiting for your pie crust. So as soon as your pie crust is done, we're gonna eat. This is out of the oven and it's cold and it smells really good. It looks funny. I don't know if I did that right, but that's what it said, was to plop it on top. And it didn't shrink that much. It did have edges around it before I put it in. And I don't know why there was a burnt spot. Well, I shouldn't say burnt, brown spot there. I don't know. I don't like milk washes because it doesn't give a great color. It's definitely done. It's definitely flaky, but I wish I could have used an egg. It would just made it so pretty. So it's cool enough to handle a pan, but it is still warm to the touch. So I guess all that's left to do is cut into it and see what happens. Because really, I think all we did was just make a baked applesauce. Which, you gotta get creative. You gotta get creative, right? Ooh, okay. Ooh, still steamy. It smells real good though. It smells like a cinnamon roll and apple pie mixed together. I'm not sure how that works. Okay, one baked apple cake, tart pie, I'm not even sure what. It's so good. It's apple pie. I just made a flat apple pie. That's all this is. You can't call this a cake. Okay. All right. So this is good. It's an applesauce pie in a cake shape. It is definitely baked applesauce. That's really all it is. And I am going to eat all of it because this is really, really good. It tastes exactly like apple pie, as it should. Cake is a little bit of a stretch, but would I make this again? Probably. Well, it depends, really, because, and here's my because. Last year, our orchard, we got a lot of apples, but they were not the good canning apples. They would not do a good, pie filling with the chunks. They just mushed. They were good for eating and applesauce, and that was about the only thing they could do. So, that being said, I've got a lot of jars of applesauce from last year still in my pantry that we're trying to cycle through, but if you find yourself in that situation with a lot of applesauce and needing something else to do with it other than eat applesauce, you know what? I'd do it again. I'd totally do this again. I never thought about that because when I was canning it last year, I was like, what on earth am I going to do with all of this? Where's this going to last us forever? But I could get behind this. I really could. The texture is great. It's just a pastry. Now, as far as looks-wise, it's a little anemic. 1940's, I am learning, they are very big fans of trying to keep housewives and families excited about eating because, well, it wasn't a total failure, which is always a good thing. I always like the ones that work out because then I can either say, yeah, this is amazing, or I could make some modifications and it would be amazing. So this one is a winner. I like it. It's good enough. If you're still here, thank you so much for joining me. I am so glad that you have stayed to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope the cost breakdown helped you out. It helped me out. I kind of like to see how that stuff all works and falls together. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. Please join our community. We have a lot of fun on this channel. I love talking to you guys. Drop me a comment and let me know you're here. Also, you can drop me a recipe. I love seeing those, and it also helps make my week a little bit easier when someone else tells me what to do. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. It helps me know that I'm making content that you're enjoying. And also hit the little bell notification. I try to upload every Monday, historical experiment, except for last week because my computer crashed, so it was on Tuesday. So I'm sorry about that. But also, a lot of you have found the community tab that I now have up. I have been posting polls to find out a little bit more information from you guys, and some little sneak peeks from behind the scenes, and some interesting little tidbits and articles are getting ready to come down the pipeline. So be sure to check out the community tab. There will be some fun things on there that I think you might enjoy. All right, well, I hope you have a wonderful week. And if you need something else to watch, check this one out. It was super good. And I'm probably gonna make it again here real soon. just for my own personal eating. I will see you next Monday. Bye.